All right, let's talk Sam Darnold. This might be a quicker film study because he only had 18 passes in the game, but made the most of them against a defense that had looked scrappy through 2 weeks. Did not have a great game here in week 3, but obviously you got to give Seattle credit for what they were able to do. Let's jump into things, starting off with this play, getting him in motion across his body, right? Right-handed quarterback going towards his left is going to be difficult. You see how this can work, though. You have the play action, which can move linebackers in. The deep shot can push the defensive back further deep, and then hopefully the over-the-middle route is what can get open. Darnold's going to take the snap, and you're going to see that this play does ultimately work, but the issue is that just because you have an open player doesn't mean you can necessarily get the ball to him. Darnold doesn't want to take the time to get his feet fully planted because that gives New Orleans time to cover up this route. It's open now. You want to hit it now. So he's going to have to kind of throw really, off platform, again, across his body to make the play. But he is able to do that, and they're able to get a touchdown there. Again, that's a really athletic play, and regardless of, for Sam Darnold, what you think about him, there's no denying he's an incredible athlete. Let's not forget, he was drafted 3rd overall for his athleticism in a draft that also had Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson in it. Obviously, those guys were a lot less polished than Darnold, but still, Darnold's athleticism was a big part of why he was, some people thought should have been drafted 1st overall. There's a lot of stuff like this in the game, kind of, simple stuff. Again, part of why Darnold wasn't getting a ton of hype after this game was that's just the special teams was awesome, but B, it wasn't like he was making the highest degree of difficulty throws, but that's not a bad thing necessarily. So this play, it's a zone coverage concept. Again, receiver pushes the corner further deep. You don't have a tight end trying to get into a gap in coverage. When this play begins, a New Orleans player over the middle has to pick this up. They do not. Because of this, you have a wide open player. Again, Saints did not have a great defensive day out there. This isn't the craziest concept in the world, but still, you're getting a guy open. Darnold's making the throw. Again, it's not a bad thing when you can have layups to hit, right? Sure, it's always impressive when you can make the tough throws, but what's nicer is when you don't have to make tough throws. Although heading over here, there were some examples of him making the tough throw. So first, this is going to be a one-on-one matchup on the outside. The Saints are going to say, well, let's try and play man coverage. If the zone coverage isn't working out too well, let's see what we can do. But then you have to have corners who can man up against the Seahawks receivers. And on this play, it's going to be Kool-Aid McKinstry going up one-on-one against Torrey Horton. So, Jackson Smith-Njigba, obviously we know what he can do, but can someone else be a key guy here, right? Because you're going to try and take Smith-Njigba out of the play if you can, so you'll have a complete one-on-one matchup on the other side. Well, when this play begins, Kool-Aid McKinstry does a good job at hanging with, Horton. There's not a ton of space right here. You're going to need a great throw and a great catch, and what happens? Well, that's what you get. Beautiful throw from Sam Darnold. Nice catch as well, and they're able to get the touchdown. So, yeah, that's a high-level play by those two guys, and they're able to pull it off. And sometimes you saw some of both, right? We're talking about the bad defense that the Saints showed in certain examples, then the good offense that the Seahawks showed when the Saints did have good defense. And sometimes it was not great defense and also great offense. So this play is a zone. I believe the coverage is the zone coverage play. You have a single safety deep, and it's Jackson Smith-Njigba who is running further down the field. Smith-Njigba, kind of the knock against him coming out of college is he's not really a downfield threat. He's more of just an over-the-middle guy. Well, when this play begins, I guess he is going over the middle, but going over the middle down to field, Darnold has a clean enough pocket he can make this throw, and it looks like the safety moved too far in. I'm not exactly sure why he did that. So that's kind of where the bad defense comes, is you can't let him get past you if you're the safety deep on this play. Ultimately, he did. And again, there's 3 Saints players right there chasing after Smith-Njigba. Someone has to stay over the top of him, and it's the safety who has to stay over the top of him. But for Darnold, he notices this. And again, look at this perfect throw, and also really good job by Smith-Njigba just to track that football. When you have both of those two things combined, it's what allowed them to pick up that big completion on this play. Also heading over to this one, some easier stuff, but still nice to see. Zone coverage, Cooper Kupp running a route, just trying to get into a gap in coverage further down the field. Darnold's going to take the snap, runs a play action, honestly, just no one picks up Cooper Kupp. I mean, this is not ideal defense by the New Orleans Saints. It's not like, sure, there was a play action, and the play action worked, right? That gets the Saints focused on what's in front of them. They forget what's behind them. But again, for Darnold, simple stuff, able to make the play work. That's kind of most of what we saw in this game. That's why they were able to have success and why they were able to kind of run the Saints off the field pretty quickly. Because again, look, we can sit here and say, well, it's just the Saints and the Saints defense sucks and that's the end of it. But we saw Mac Jones play the Saints last week, who's a backup, and he played pretty well. He was able to, methodically run an offense, but it wasn't quite this good. He had 279 yards on 39 attempts, so definitely not quite as efficient as Seattle was in this game. Kyler Murray had 163 yards on 29 attempts, so he was nowhere near as efficient. I actually thought he played pretty well in that game. So, there were just plays like this where it's a one-on-one, or a zone coverage concept, and they're going to once again run to play action. And again, I just felt like they had the right play call for every situation. Again, only 18 pass attempts, but I felt like on each one of them, I'm not exaggerating, it's like on 14 of them probably, they had the perfect play concept to beat what the Saints were doing. Route over the middle against zone coverage. Watch as the setup route takes up things underneath. You then have it further down the field, corner staying further deep because that's what he thinks his assignment is, and it is what his assignment is. But because there's a route taking everything else away, the Seahawks able to convert and move the ball further down the field. So ultimately, a very good performance. Where do we go from here? Well, I'll say that in just a second. Real quick, I will mention I do have a movie channel. If you like movies, want to hear me talk about movies, you can check that out. The link is in the description below. I have some movie reviews and stuff like that. But yeah, back to Darnold and the Seahawks. It's a really impressive win. Again, I think an argument could be made that because the Seahawks special teams was so awesome, this game just got out of hand for the Saints quickly, but their defensive players are still out there, still trying. Let's not completely, throw this one away and throw this performance away by Sam Darnold. Ultimately, I've talked about this before, where it's one of those things where if you win by 14, then everyone says, wow, what an impressive performance. But if you win by 31, everyone says, wow, what a disaster by the team you played, right? At a certain point, you win by too much, and everyone almost makes it out it was just a bad team you played and forgets about the fact, hey, again, the Saints have played 3 games. They played 2 competitive games. They've been blown out once. I'm not saying the Seahawks, not saying this was all Seahawks. The Saints aren't a great team. There's no denying that. But also, there is some, it's a good game for the Seahawks, who now have to play the Cardinals in Arizona on Thursday. So, big game for both of those 2 teams who are trying to go up to 3-1. But yeah, good performance by Sam Darnold and the Seahawks here. At least that's what I think. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.